Real life versus online trends. Yo, what's good with y'all, gang? In today's video, I wanted to talk about the differences between real life trends and online trends because I recently made a video about fashion trends that fell off, and I had a lot of people down in the comments defending their favorite dead trend. And it kind of puts a clearer perspective on general public trends and fashion forward trends. Because really there's only two types of people. There are the people who are really into fashion and they care about what's going on in the space as far as designers, trends, cuts, different stuff like that. And then you got the general person who really doesn't care much about fashion, but because you have to get dressed every day, you might as well put on something that you think is cool. So we're gonna go back and forth between things that I see in real life that are trends and then things that I primarily only see online. Right before we get started, I wanted to let y'all know that the hat that I am wearing is now out on JadonGrundy.com. It is called the Upside Down Cap, and y'all will finally be able to cop. I know I've been wearing this joint for some time, but it's out. But let's hop right into it, man. We're gonna start off with the trends that I see in real life, and I want to start off with the shoe category, and I think the easiest topic on this one is got to be the Adidas Sambas. Now, I feel like when it comes to real life trends, they're really going to be things that are accessible and affordable. And Adidas Sambas matches that effortlessly. Like, you can literally walk into the mall right now and go to your local Adidas store or something like that, and they will have Adidas Sambas on the shelf. And I don't remember the price, but it's probably under or around $100. And since it is a trend online, it easily translates to the general public. And now every time that I leave the house, whether it's to a store or to the mall or something like that, I see at least 2 pairs of Adidas Sambas, if not 5. Now on the flip side, for the online trends, you're usually gonna see things that are just not in arm's reach to most people. So they're probably gonna be out of most people's price range and or are just a harder item to obtain. So when it comes to this shoe category, I would say that the Rick Owens Ramones are probably here. The Rick Owens Ramones are one of those shoes that feels like we are seeing so often when it comes to the Explore page or TikTok or your favorite rapper or something like that. And then when you go out in public, nobody has them on. And I say that with the perspective of people who live in common areas, not major cities. If you live in LA, you see Ramones. If you live in New York, if you live in Chicago, even Paris or something, I'm sure you see Ramones often, but you primarily just see them online in fit pics. Now on the flip side of that, we got Doc Martens, and the reason I think Doc Martens have become such a trend in both worlds is because A, they are accessible, and because boots are trending, I think Doc Martens are usually the starter kit or the intro to everybody's boot collection. They're very durable, they're very affordable, and they still look good and classic, to be honest. Now to contrast those, it's kind of funny, but the big red boots definitely got to be mentioned because that is something that I strictly only seen online. There might have been a time where I went into a store and they had them on display or something like that, but that's because I live out in LA. In general, I haven't seen anybody just casually wearing the big red boots. Now on the other side, the last 2 shoes that I have in the category has got to be New Balances and Dunks, and to be honest, those are both things that I feel like are being overdone, so they feel like they are falling out of the trend category, but because everybody already bought them, they still wear them. So it's not like they just threw them in the trash. They're still gonna exist. So I do often see a pair of Pant Dunks or a pair of New Balances of some sort, probably the 550s or something like that. And then on the online trend side, the last 2 shoes that I have on here is gonna be Tabbies or anything Balenciaga, runners, defenders, 3XLs, Crocs, mules. Those are all shoes that first off are all over $1,000. So I know y'all think that everybody just has money. Most people don't have the money to buy these things, so I never see them unless I'm at something very fashion forward. And then Tabbies is kind of like a comfort thing, and if you're not really that into fashion, you probably won't pick up a pair of Margiela Tabbies. Now that we got the shoe category out the way, we're going to talk about pants. And in real life, the pants that I often see is going to be anything flare related and kind of in the DIY type of category. So those gallery jewelry department type flares that everybody has seen overdone. I kind of blame the streamers for this one. I feel like they are always wearing this type of stuff whenever I think about it, and because they are so big, all the other kids follow along. So you'll see like Kai or Duke or Bruce or somebody like that wearing these joints. Now before we contrast that, I wanted to also say that baggy pants are definitely in there. Like, we all have heard about baggy pants a billion times at this point, but they are a trend that carried right over into real life because you can kind of get them anywhere, and especially like parachute pants or just baggy denims of any sort, you can just find in your local like Urban Outfitters at this point. And that kind of was another thing that started with the very fashion forward online people. But if I was to talk about the baggy pants that people don't wear in real life, it's probably gonna be like the raver jeans or like the super blasted distressed pants. Like, those are gonna be the baggy ones that I don't really see in public as much as I see like parachute pants or something like that. Also in that same category of online trends and pants, I would say that skirts or skirts over pants is really just something you're gonna see online on a fit pic or something like that. Like, most men don't really have the confidence to pop out in a skirt, so they really won't. So only like bold fashion people will be doing that. So back over into real life, we have the tops category, and I think the first top that I often see, weirdly enough, is gonna be crop tops. And I don't mean like really crop joints. I just mean like people are paying more attention to the proportion of their shirt. I don't know if it's subconscious or not, but I do see a lot of people wearing a shorter length shirt that kind of hits their waist in a better way. Now, whether they're buying it like that or doing like a DIY is really up to whoever the consumer is, but I think especially with things like DIY where you can just cut the bottom of the shirt and it looks the way you want it to, I think that that is a very accessible way to have a more proportionate outfit. Now, when it comes to tops that I only really see online, it's probably just going to be anything that just has very exaggerated proportions. So that could be bold shoulders, that could be a drastic length in whether it's a coat, shirt, whatever you may have, or anything with just like extreme cuts. Like, you might have a crazy hood, you might have exaggerated bagginess in the sleeves or something like that. That's really just going to be something that you see online. And I say that because it usually comes with designer purchases and most people can't afford those. So all right, here's where I would switch over and go back into real life trends, but I wanted to stay on the topic of online trends for a second because I wanted to mention that all of the cores you really only see online, like bloke core, gorp core, Y2K, or like opium and stuff like that. Like, you really only see that online. I don't hardly see anybody popping out intentionally in like an all black gothic type of look, nor do I see like Y2K. I think if I was to argue any of them being in real life, it would probably be bloke core or gorp core, just because those take place in other areas that either wear jerseys or wear outdoor gear. I just don't think that people are intentionally wearing those things to be a part of one of the cores. But now we can flip back into the real life category, and I think accessories has become so much bigger in real life as it has become in the online setting. Now, I want to say that because I see a lot more men paying attention to things like jewelry. So rings at some point used to be only something fashion forward people wore, until a lot of people understood that like that looks really good on men as well. So rings, necklaces, glasses, they all have just become very, very important. I think if I was to contrast that into the online trends, I would say that you typically don't see your average person wearing like the chunkier jewelry. So for instance, like the chain that I have on right now would be a little bit more exaggerated than your typical like small necklace that just has a cross on it or something like that. So I would say big bulky statement jewelry pieces or like glasses or bracelets and stuff like that, whenever it's like chunkier and more exaggerated as usual, it's probably just going to be something you see online for a fit pic. Now, I was kind of on the fence of throwing this one in because I don't know if it fits in the online category or the real life category, but I wanted to say that Apple headphones are kind of in that same accessories box, just because I think a lot of people end up buying them for a fashion or trendy statement and then just end up wearing them a ton, and they are on the cusp of being like very expensive. But because it's an Apple product, people are like willing to buy it. Like everybody has an iPhone and iPhones aren't cheap. So it's like, because it's so trendy, people are stretching their wallets to go buy that and then wear it in public as well. The last couple of things that I have on the list is leather. I feel like leather has been very consistent in the fashion forward space, but has definitely become something that people are normally gravitating towards, especially when real leather doesn't have to be the only type of leather. Like they make all different types of like vegan leathers, faux leathers, or just different materials that kind of mimic leather. So I do see that more often. I also wanted to throw vintage in the real life category. I think that this was one of those things that actually came from real life and translated into online. So then online people were like, oh, let's all the influencers go to the thrift store. So like that happened, and then I think it kind of fell off from the online trend and went back into the accessible real life trends. But I think that's pretty much it. I think if we were to sum it up, I think that things that are happening online are usually from people who are very confident in the fashion space, have a little bit more money, or consciously spend a little bit more money on pieces that matter to them. And then when it comes to trends that I see in real life, is really just going to be things that were trendy online that are actually accessible and affordable for the general public. But that's pretty much it, man. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you go down, smash the like button, subscribe if you are new, follow the boy on Instagram if you haven't yet. But I'll be back to you guys with more, man. Peace.